everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's a bit of a technique video today. I want to show you how to make this kind of effect. So stay with me and I will show you. Here's what I'm using today. I'm using the Falling Leaves dynamic embossing folder. Now it is very important with the dynamic folders, they are thicker than a normal embossing folder, so you have to follow the instructions. And for the Sizzix, when you run this through your machine, you only use one cutting plate. Okay, you don't have a plate underneath it, you just put the presser plate on top. That is very important. If you try to put it through with two cutting plates, either it won't go through, or worst case scenario, you will break your machine, and you really don't want to do that. I'm also going to be using some silver foil card, which I have cut or will cut to fit inside my embossing folder. Black acrylic paint, any brand, okay, cheapest chips ones will do. I'm using reinkers, and the colours that I used are Tempting Turquoise and Emerald Envy. Now for this effect I wanted a kind of bluey greeny patina, so these are the colours that I've used. If you wanted a different colour, obviously go ahead and use different coloured reinkers. If you wanted a rusty one kind of look, you could. I think Cajun Craze would be good with a bit of, oh, I don't know, soft suede in it. That would be nice. Maybe I'll try that, see how that comes out. And I'm also using some PVA adhesive, and again this is the generic shop's own brand, cheapest chips kind. You don't need anything special or fancy for this technique. I've covered my work surface to protect it, and in here I have some black acrylic paint, which I've just thinned down a little bit with some water, and all I'm going to do is just paint across the top of the embossed card. And I'm just going to let that sit up and just dry for a few minutes. That's just been sitting for just a couple of minutes. I don't want it to get too dry. I've got a damp paper towel here, and I'm just going to just dab here and there along the surface and take off most of what I just put on, actually. And I think I want a bit more paint in there, so just thinned my paint down a little bit more. And I'm just playing, just getting some texture in there. And I want to leave some of the brush strokes because it looks like scratches on metal. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. That's looking nice and grungy. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to bring in one that I've done earlier, which has had time to dry properly. That's been drying overnight. And now I'm going to bring in a bit of foil off the top of it. Now this is a mixture of, can you see that? It's a mixture of PVA adhesive with some drops of reinkers in there, and in there I put, I think it was about 10 drops of Tempting Turquoise and about 5 drops of Emerald Envy, so that I got this kind of greeny bluey sort of patina-y shade. And I'm just going to dab that onto my prepared card. Not even using a brush. I'm using the mixing stick. And, let's see how we get on with a bit of paper towel. Now this will dry clear So you want this to go wherever you want a sort of oldie worldy looking patina on your card. Okay, and you put in as much or as little as you like. And normally I say you can always add, but you can't take it away. Well, this time you can take it away as long as you do it while it's still wet. Okay, and that is looking lovely and grungy now. Okay, so I can put that on one side to dry thoroughly, and I'll just bring back one that's been completed and had time to dry, and that is the sort of finished effect that I am going for. Can you see the little bits of, yes you can, the little bits of greeny bluey kind of patina effect sitting in there. Here it is. What am I going to do with it? Well, my first thought was that I'd make a few of these and I would cover a small box with it, because I think that would make it look like it was a very old antique-y kind of treasury box. And that would be good, and you could use this almost anywhere that you wanted a metallic tarnished silver sort of effect. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one more technique. I'm going to make a photo frame with it. Right, and if I had thought about this in advance, I would have cut my aperture into the card before I actually ran it through the Big Shot and embossed it. Because if I now take my my thinlet, and I'm going to use an oval, and I'm going to use that size one, if I just plonk that down on there and just run it through as it is, what will happen is the embossing will be squashed down by the pressure from the Big Shot, and I don't want that. I spent a bit of time and effort getting this embossing into my card, so I don't want to, you know, kind of iron it out again. So this is what I need to do. I'm going to bring back my embossing folder, and I'm going to put it with the raised side up towards me for the moment, and I'm going to put my card back in to the embossing folder, and I'm just going to wiggle it about until it finds where it wants to sit. Now take a bit of time with this, because you know you will kind of you will feel it. Got that upside down, no wonder it won't work. So just wiggle it about, and it will kind of sit into where it wants to be. So I'm going to leave that there. Just going to weight it down for a moment with my low tack tape, and I'm going to bring the die that I want to use, and I'm going to put it down where I want it to be. And I've got a little bit of low tack tape. I'm just going to kind of pin it into place. Okay. Right, now if I run this through as it is, I will cut a hole in to my card. I will also cut a hole in my embossing folder. I really don't want to do that. Okay, that would not be a good thing at all. So just making sure that that is seated in place. I'm going to close up the folder, and I'm going to turn it over. All right. Now again, I'm going to take my low tack tape, and I'm going to stick the card onto the folder, and I'm going to keep testing that it's where I want it to be. Keep wiggling. You know, take a bit of, if you're doing this, take time over it. There's no rush, and practice this beforehand. Okay, definitely practice beforehand. Now, you see that's moved. I'm going to turn it back, and I'm going to have a wiggle. So I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish fiddling with this off camera. So You know, otherwise I could take quite a long time just checking and rechecking. Now when I've got it into that position, what I am then going to do is I am going to run it through my Big Shot, and I'm going to keep that open, because if I close it, my die is now facing this way and it will cut a hole in that side. It will, trust me. So I've done a bit of experimentation, and on my Big Shot I have found that this kind of embossing folder, which is one of the dynamic ones, it's one of the extra thick ones, if I take this and I put it onto my magnetic platform, right? Now, if you haven't got the magnetic platform, it would be the platform with all the tabs closed, or all of the extra sheets in place. And actually, I'm going to put a shim under there as well, because on mine, this is what will work for me. So I've got magnetic platform, shim, embossing folder open, and then I can put my cutting plate on top and I can run that through my machine. Now, for my machine and this kind of embossing folder, that works. Experiment with your own machine first. Start off with no shims and no extra platforms, so that you don't break the machine, and then just experiment with adding layers and layers of shim. If you are using one of the what I would call a normal embossing folder, the ones that aren't so deep, then you would probably need to use your multi-purpose platform without the tab, without the layer that is for extra wafer thin dies. Can't think this morning. And 2 platforms, but always start off with the with like nothing extra at all, just the base platform, and build up, experiment until you get the result you want. All right. So for my Big Shot, I know this works. I will have to run it through a few times to get the cut complete, but I will be back in a minute and I will show you what it looks like. And there it is. Let me put that back where it belongs. And if you can see that, as well as cutting that aperture, it's also embossed into the edge of the card there, so that it gives it it's almost like a little frame effect. So this is going to be my photograph frame, and I've got my photograph, which is not anybody I know. It's just an image from a pack of cards for craft that I bought. Oh, and I've had this in my stash for a long time, and I've got something to back it on. So this is a piece of chipboard. It's a piece that came as a piece of packing. I never throw nice chipboard away. I always keep it, and I've cut this to 3.5 by 5.5, I think it is. Yeah, 3.5 by 5.5, and that is going to be my background for my gentleman. So I'm going to position him where I want him on the back card. So let me decide around about where he sits. And I don't know if you can hear music in the background. I will try and do a bit of an edit. Which way up is it? Which way is it? Slightly deeper way. I think it's that way. So let's position him onto the card, and I'm just going to hold the picture in place with some low tack, because that will be good. Okay. And you would obviously use a photograph of somebody that you loved. Just wondering, would it be easier do this the other way around. Probably would. It would be easier to put him into the aperture, wouldn't it? And stick him onto this piece. Yeah, so the music that you can hear in the background, if iMovie doesn't do its magic and get rid of it, is because there's going to be an air show right outside my window this afternoon, and they're getting ready for it. So I have to do my filming this morning and get that done, because otherwise you ain't gonna be able to hear a thing. It's gonna get loud outside this afternoon. All right. Okay. So I've marked where the card comes to, and I've got my bone folder, and we put something a bit squishy underneath, so I've got something to dig into. And I'm just going to mark those creases. Now, there isn't a vast amount of room, but there is just enough room for me to fold those edges over and stick them down. So that is what I am going to do. First of all, I'm going to miter those corners. Okay, so I'm not cutting right across the corner. I'm cutting about 1/16 of an inch outside. Okay, and that's just to allow the card to be able to fold over and not have any bits of card sticking out. Okay, so let's have a look how that is working. And I could have just stuck this directly onto the face of the cardboard. It would have been just fine, but I wanted it to look a little bit, you know, that there was a little bit of depth to my silver. So here we go then. Bit of liquid adhesive around the outside of the cardboard. Bring in my handsome gentleman and stick him into place. I'm going to use liquid adhesive again. You could use tape, would probably be quicker. I stopped filming there because I decided that I wanted to work on one edge at a time. So put the adhesive on, fold it over, hold it in place until it's starting to stick well, and then do the opposite side, and then do the two adjacent sides. And that is what you end up with. Now, what you do next depends on what you want to do with your work, with your piece of with your frame. Now, you could put that inside a what you might call a proper photo frame when you buy from the shop, if the aperture is the right size, and that would look rather nice. You probably need to take the glass out, but again, that would depend on what kind of photo frame you have there. Or you could put a loop on the back and you could hang this from the wall. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little stand for it, so it's a stand-up photo frame. Okay, and I've got a piece of the same card that I used for the backing, and it was a rectangle. Now this is in centimeters, so it was 9 centimeters wide, and I just chopped I just chopped it off at an angle, and then I put it onto my my Stampin' trimmer. Let me show you. And I lined it up at 3/4 of an inch, I think it was, and I just used the the cutting blade very lightly. Okay, now it didn't cut through the card, but it did give it a jolly good score. Okay, alright, so that is going to be stuck onto the back of my photo frame, but if I put it as it is, it will be completely upright and you know, at military attention, and I don't want that. So I have my ruler and my craft knife. At least I did have my ruler. Where's it gone? Here it is. And I've got my old faithful heavy duty knife. This is probably overkill. And I'm just cutting away a little bit of an angle between where the fold starts, right there, and the edge of the card. And again, it's one of those things where you should just take your time and make several passes and start small. Make the angle shallower than you think you're going to need. Let's try that, because you can always go back and chop off a bit more. And in fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I want that a little bit of a steeper angle. So I'll just chop away a bit more. So I'm happy with that, and I'm going to put on some tearing tape because I want a quick grab at the back of this, but I'm also going to put in some wet glue, because what will happen is the tearing tape will make that you know, that quick stick for me, and the adhesive, the wet glue, will make a more permanent bond. If you really want a quick and permanent bond, then hot glue would work very, very well, and I've only just thought of that. So yeah, that's why I didn't use it. But, okay, so that is now in place, and it's hard to show you from above, but that does lean back rather nicely. And there it is. There is the finished picture frame. And if I can just bring back one of my other pieces of card, that is what we used to do it. And sorry about the glare there. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then please do come back and join me again soon. I would love to see you. But for now, bye-bye.